In 1977, Cedar Point placed an order to Aerodynamics for the tallest, fastest, and steepest roller coaster on the planet. This would be a dueling coaster called Gemini. When Gemini opened though, it actually wasn't the tallest or fastest coaster, as other coasters like Loch Ness Monster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg and Screamin' Eagle at Six Flags St. Louis had already had those records. That being said, Gemini is still a massive roller coaster for its time, and I think that it still holds up to this day, 43 years later. In my opinion, Gemini is a very underrated roller coaster. I think it provides a great ride experience, and today I'm going to be reviewing it. Before I get into the video, I would like to say thank you for 300 subscribers. My channel has been growing pretty quickly lately, and I cannot thank all of you guys enough for the support. You guys are seriously amazing, and every new subscriber is greatly appreciated. So thank you for 300, and here's to 400.
Arms in, head back, hold on.
Gemini has very impressive stats considering the coaster is nearing 45 years old. Gemini stands 120 feet tall, has a drop of 118 feet, travels at 60 miles per hour, and has a track length of 3,950 feet. All these stats are identical on both sides. Like I said in the beginning of the video, Gemini was supposed to be the tallest, fastest, and steepest roller coaster on Earth when it opened, at 125 feet, 60 miles per hour, and with a 55-degree drop. This did not actually happen though, as Loch Ness Monster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg opened only 11 days before Gemini, which stands 130 feet tall, and Screamin' Eagle at Six Flags St. Louis has a faster top speed at 62 miles per hour. Something I find funny is that despite this, Cedar Point continued to claim that Gemini was the tallest and fastest roller coaster, even when it wasn't. That being said, Gemini is not even close to being a small ride. The coaster takes up a massive plot of land right in the middle of Cedar Point. The coaster's two tracks also make it look a lot larger and more intimidating than it actually is. I understand that Gemini is a hybrid coaster with steel track, but when you're off the ride it does look like a wooden coaster. This makes the coaster look comically large for what a wooden roller coaster would normally be, and I think that that's one of the best things about Gemini. So, I'm gonna give Gemini a 9 out of 10 for stats. The next category is pacing, and I think that this is gonna be a short one, not because Gemini's pacing is bad, it's just kind of average, and I really don't have anything to talk about here. The coaster does have an impressive top speed of 60 miles per hour, but you only feel that in the dips and on the hills. A lot of what this ride does is turns, as it follows a traditional wooden coaster layout. The turns can feel a bit slow, but you always pick up all of your lost speed during the drops off the turns. This good pacing allows for the final two hills and the final helix to feel very fast paced, and those elements are my personal favorite part of the ride because of this. I'm gonna give Gemini an 8.5 out of 10 for pacing. One of Gemini's biggest strengths is its smoothness. Before going to Cedar Point, I had always heard that Gemini was a smooth coaster, and I was looking forward to experiencing it. When I rode Gemini, I was beyond impressed by how smooth the ride was. I did not feel a single bump in the track, and even the odd aero profiling at some spots didn't feel rough in the slightest. The only part of the ride that ran a little janky was the transition into the final helix. After banking at a straight section of track, the coaster takes a very sharp turn to the left or the right depending on which side you're on. You may experience some jerkiness in this part, but even then, it's not rough, it's just kind of janky, and I don't really know how to describe it. Gemini is obviously getting a 10 out of 10 for smoothness. The fact that a coaster 45 years old can run smoother than some steel coasters built in the last 5 years is very impressive, and it's one of the things that makes Gemini so good. The next category is forces. Gemini is a roller coaster with many more moments of negative G's than positive G's. Really the only intense part of the ride was the helix, and although it does provide some decent positive G's, it's not really that intense or anything. On the other hand, Gemini has loads of airtime. I found all of the drops off the turns to have decent sustained airtime, and the two hills in the middle of the ride all had some really good floater. The final two hills at the end of the ride are the best moments of airtime on Gemini in my opinion. The first of these hills is similar to the first two in the middle of the ride, but just with a little bit more power, and the second one has a sharper point, making the airtime not as sustained, but in my opinion, more powerful than any other airtime moment on the ride. Following this is the helix that I mentioned earlier, which is a basic finale to the ride, but at the same time, I think it's a great ending as it contrasts well with the airtime filled layout. I'm gonna give Gemini a 9 out of 10 for forces. It has some great sustained float or airtime, and also a moment of positive G's, which will add on to its score even more. Finally, I'm gonna talk about Gemini's trains and restraints. Gemini has 2 trains on each side of the track. The trains are 5 cars long, each seating 6 people, allowing for 30 riders on each train. Combine this with the fact that Gemini is a dueling coaster, so if Cedar Point is running both sides, Gemini can fit 60 people in each cycle. This alone is impressive, but combine that with the fact that Gemini typically runs 2 trains on each side, and this coaster is an absolute capacity monster. As far as restraints go, Gemini features a thin metal U-shaped bar with a little bit of padding. These are the same restraints in trains that can be found on Magnum XL200 and Cedar Creek Mine Ride, which are both aerodynamics coasters in the same park. In the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, Aerodynamic used these trains on basically all of their non-looping coasters. I'm not the biggest fan of these trains, and they kind of contribute to my disliking toward Magnum. The minimal padding on the metal bars next to your legs isn't a great system, and on a rough coaster like Magnum, these restraints are kind of brutal. On Gemini though, where it's glass smooth, they aren't really that much of a problem. I'll give Gemini a 7 out of 10 for its trains and restraints. Gemini's final score out of 10 is an 8.7, and that's just because this is a solid roller coaster. It has good airtime, it's smooth, and to add on to it, it has some pretty impressive stats. Have you ridden Gemini? If so, tell me your thoughts on it in the comments down below. And also to make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, as all those things would be greatly appreciated. Also, if you want to join the 07 Coasters Discord server, that will be linked in the description down below. Anyways, this is 07 Coasters, signing off.